The next award is the Mitchell Ratta Award, and this is going to be going to Karl Fredrickson. And Karl is an amazing guy. He's kept print magazine going in racing, which is unheard of today with the internet. Karl Fredrickson has earned a living as a professional auto racing journalist for over 30 years. Starting as a non-salary contributor, his work was so good, Karl was elevated to paid full-time writer and photographer at Stock Car Racing and Open Wheel magazine. In 1999, the magazine was sold, and the entire staff of what, at that time, was the most successful auto racing magazine in the country was all let go. Sounds familiar today, doesn't it, folks? Karl wasn't about to give up being an auto racing journalist. With Karl's help, an effort to launch new auto racing magazine found success. Months after Stock Car and Open Wheel were sold, and Karl was hired at the new Speedway Illustrated magazine, where he went on to become its editor. The magazine was eventually sold to a Kansas firm that made dramatic personnel cuts, eventually leading to the magazine's closure. Again, Fredrickson would not give up, refused to give up. He sought and successfully secured funding to buy the Speedway Illustrated out of bankruptcy, and for the last 12 years, he has run it as publisher and lead writer. Karl and his wife, Christine, along with their two daughters, are the driving force behind one of the only auto racing magazines left to survive in the world that doesn't read anything longer than a tweet. Karl's writing and photography have earned first place honors in many journalism competitions. His magazine supports the fans and those who participate in it. He is nationally recognized for playing a major role in promoting the popularity of local level auto racing. Karl is a solid tell-it-like-it-is writer whose monthly magazines help racers go faster and race more safely with spending less. So at this time, please bring up Karl Fredrickson for the Mitchell Ratta Award.
Well, thank you, Mark. This is all pretty overwhelming. My name is Karl Fredrickson. I'm with Speedway Illustrated magazine. There are some copies outside. I hope you'll grab one. I'm Scottish, so to give something away is really saying a lot. But before I talk about how awesome I am, and I'm going to be brief, I want to make note of how fortunate we are in this region to have NEAR. I go around the country a lot, and there are distressingly few organizations like this one, and I challenge each of us to motivate the next generation, because we need more Nick Titos. I'm here as a writer, but I think maybe a few of you also know that I race cars too. And one of the first times I unloaded a race car, I was trying to look cool and tough and be one of the guys, and I said, well, who's a fast guy? And they pointed to this yellow #1 JR precast car, and I said, Dick Houlihan. I said, Houlihan, huh? They said, yeah, but we don't call him Houlihan. You don't? What do you call him? I said, kidney stones. Kidney stones? He says, yeah, you might pass him, but it's going to hurt when you do. Since I'm not clever enough to come up with that, I got a Richard Hennessy from Hudson Speedway. I heard him say that, and I've got more miles out of that joke than Russ Conway got out of rolling the R in Russ Conway. But I owe a lot to Russ, because he owned Hudson Speedway along with Charlie Smith and Ken Smith and Charlie Elliott, and that's where I fell in love with the sport. I couldn't believe that these guys like Gigi Gravel and Paul Richardson, who would soon be my heroes, were roaring around at a track that was almost in my backyard. And I had heard of NASCAR and Winston Cup, primarily through reading Stock Car Racing magazine. But I had Hudson on Sunday evening, and nothing was better than to be there. So, but in August of 1992, I decided to swing for the fences and write Dick Bergen a letter. And I wanted to ask him for a job. And so I reached out to a friend of mine, a pretty smart guy. And I said, he said, what do you want to do? I said, I don't care, I'll scrape the dumpster. And he said, no, find something that you can provide that the magazine is missing? I said, well, the tech stories go over my head, so I'd like to write tech stories for dumb people like me. I'm still doing it. But I wrote that letter to Dick, and he called me right away. And he said I would, like Mark said, I would get a desk and a computer, but no guarantee of a job. And he said, you do know how to use a computer, don't you? Yes, I said. Dick, that's the only time I've lied to you. But I figured it out because I figured I'm on my own dime and I'll just pay my dues. So I was an in-house freelancer for 15 months. And sometimes those months I got paid $100. I brown bagged my lunch. I plugged a tire rather than replace it on the Ford Escort that I had stolen, borrowed, got. But I learned the craft of being a writer. I wanted to make myself valuable, so I learned how to write, I learned how to take pictures, and I learned how to develop black and white prints because I wanted to become an employee. I also learned what it means to be a journalist, and it's a title I hold in really high esteem. I'm simply appalled by what it's become in the mainstream media, but I'm not going to bitch about them right now. I'm just staying on auto racing. But for me, no one, in racing or out, had a better support structure to learn motorsports media and what it means to be a journalist. I had Dick Berggren, the finest journalist the sport has ever known. I had Bones Borsier, the finest writer the sport has ever known. I had Rob Snedden, the sport's finest editor, and a damn good writer as well. And I had Doug Gore. So as a budding tech writer, I had a guy with 3 degrees in engineering and 1 in physics to be my guide. Nobody had it better than me. I even had Robin Hartford, whose enthusiasm was unparalleled. And I had Lou Boyd, whose consult I rely on even to this day. So just before Christmas, Dick offered me a job, and he said, you know, you won't get rich doing this, but if experiences mean something to you, you'll be richly rewarded. Well, Bergie got that one right too. I've driven every kind of race car except for a dirt late model. I've been to races from Seattle to Phoenix to Florida and everywhere in between. And there's been experiences away from racing as well. I've had Tony Stewart drive my race car at Star. We went head-to-head to see who would be faster. I've been in the backseat of the number 7 jet and gone for an hour-long flight with the Blue Angels. I've flown in the front seat of Carl Edwards' plane. I've developed a friendship with John Schneider, who played Bo in the Dukes of Hazzard. I spent quality time with Bobby Orr, Adam Sandler, Stephen Perry, Kurt Schilling, and even Elvis Presley's stepbrother, Billy Stanley, who took my wife and me on a tour of Graceland. So it's all because I wrote to Dick, and it's all because Dick called me. So no matter what brought you here today, someone smiled upon you like Dick did to me. And I'd like to ask each of us to maybe just take a moment of silence and think of those people in your life who've been a good influence to you. Thank you very much.